tournament starting yesterday, Joe Lissette, Vidianto Ajay, a couple of other players, they didn't have great weekends. These have been the two guys that have been the most impressive all weekend long.
These have been the stars of the show so far. Definitely with Ivan first, but Bradley's been on camera now several times, and in my mind has played extremely well in all the matches we've had him on camera.
Game 1 of the quarterfinals here in Oakland underway. Mystic Monastery into a Mana Confluence, and now it is, looks like he may have played the wrong card there. We'll see what's going to happen. Looks like it meant to be a Seeker the way. There that is. Bradley, you are going to play a turn 1 Elvish Mystic. Pass the turn back. You on his second turn.
And these mana accelerants are so important for Bradley in the matchup because he needs to get to his things, his Doomway Giants or whatever his big payoff is, very, very fast. Does not have time.
It's a Temple of Malady. Loses the top card on top very quickly. Here's a Sylvan Caryatid. Pass the turn back. Jen, his deck is very explosive, as we have seen.
And in game 2 of the match yesterday, we were able to see Ivan win without Jeskai Ascendancy, just with a heroic creature curve.
There's a Laguna Band Trailblazer. You can see he has a Retraction Helix and a Spring Leaf Drum in hand. Also has a copy of Jeskai Charm. Here is the drum. Prowess here on the Seeker. And if you didn't watch him yesterday, you'll realize that he uses dice just to track the prowess. It can get a little confusing how big those creatures are. Of course, not a counter there. Here's a Dragon's Mantle. That'll trigger a couple of things. Prowess is going to trigger. Heroic will trigger. Dragon's Mantle will cantrip. A lot of things happening in this deck. Another Retraction Helix drawn. Here's an attack for 4.
Ivan has been extremely conscientious about announcing triggers and making sure the order of operations is occurring in the right way, which is really important because his deck's got a million fidgety little triggers. Jeskai Ascendancy being the most obvious, but even in scenarios like this, there's a lot of little stuff going on.
Jen going to play another Mystic Monastery before passing the turn back over to you. He's got his Mana Acceleration online. Now we can see what he can do with it. He got this top card on top with Temple of Malady last turn. I believe it was a Commune with the Gods.
And we saw Bradley get burned yesterday by trying to slow roll Murderous Cut for as long as possible and get tricky with it. I imagine now he's going to be firing these off when he gets the opportunity to, as Ivan is tapped out, because he does not want to cast it into the face of a God's Willing. 2
Sylvan Caryatid, a Courser of Crewfix, a Brain Maggot, and a Llanowar Waste is what he was looking at. Looks like he's going to go with the discard spell here in Maggot.
Brain Maggot played a very important role for Bradley in the game that he won yesterday. Very important for him to have disruption.
There is a Brain Maggot, going to reveal a Jeskai Charm and 2 copies of Retraction Helix, so nothing all that great to take, I would say.
Yep, I mean, I suppose he can take the Jeskai Charm here, which strikes me as the outlier in Ivan's deck.
Yeah.
The rest of this deck is a very streamlined focus engine. These 2 Jeskai Charms are a bit out of place in my mind, but the raw power of Jeskai Charm is still quite high.
He was going to take Jeskai Charm in this instance, leaving Jen with just 2 copies of Retraction Helix. Though I think from this situation, all it takes is a copy of Jeskai Ascendancy to get the job done, though this Murderous Cut will make things a little more difficult, as the Dragon's Mantle is now gone. Murderous Cut has been very impressive from these Constellation decks.
And again, I like the timing a lot here. Do not get fancy with this Murderous Cut.
Dragon's Mantle, the draw. That'll trigger Prowess. A little card draw action too. So Seeker the way gets a little bit bigger. Take a draw, 3rd Retraction Helix. Some mana here. Never know what he's quite up to, but he's just going to pump with his Dragon's Mantle. Going to get a bunch of damage through. It looks like that's going to be it for the turn. So back to you, we're going to go.
Bradley has to be very careful about his life total here. Keep in mind that he knows at any point Ivan can Retraction Helix the Brain Maggot and get his Jeskai Charm back.
Yep.
So going to 4 is not safe here.
See what Yu is up to on this turn. He's got a Courser of Crewfix. Looks like he's going to deploy. Yep, so he's going to get the 2-4 into play. We'll take a look at the top card of his deck. It is a copy of Eidolon of Blossoms. So that'll be the next draw step for him. We think. Here's Temple of Malady. He'll trigger the Courser, go up to 12. And he's going to give it a thought on if he wants to put the Eidolon to the bottom.
He's got nothing else going on here. Eidolon seems much better than his average draw.
Looks like he's going to keep that on top. This is an attack for 1. Coast is, of course, very clear. Jen will untap. Again, 3 copies of Retraction Helix in his hand. Not quite sure what he just added for his draw step. Looks like it was an Acron Crusader, which is secretly one of the best cards in this deck.
If you watched the matches yesterday, it is no longer a secret.
That's true. There's the Crusader.
This is a huge part of the engine alongside Jeskai Ascendancy. We saw Ivan not go infinite, but generate so much power on the board that it was essentially a kill.
Here's an attack with Seeker of the Way. Of course, your Crufix can block. Well, at least it can try. But this attack isn't as innocent as it looks. When you know your opponent has copies of Retraction Helix, that's an instant speed way to make the Seeker a little bit bigger.
And remember that that Jeskai Charm is down right now too. Bradley knows Ivan can get that back in a moment's notice.
Yeah, it's an interesting way that he can go about getting it back. You know, he plays the Crusader. The Crusader doesn't have haste right now, so he can still Retraction Helix it, but he'll get a token, and then he can Retraction Helix the token, which actually does have haste, to get it back. So he'd have to go a roundabout way and use some resources to do it, but it can be done.
And you see now Ivan just being very aggressive this turn, just dumping all the mana he can into Dragon's Mantle, leaving himself with as many resources as possible for next turn, which I like a lot.
Eidolon Blossoms the draw. Top card is Commune with the Gods. Yu is down to 7, Jen at 24.
Facing a very dangerous Acron Crusader.
Yep. 3 copies of Retraction Helix, again, in hand.
And this is the most impressive element of Ivan's deck. This was the question that you and I had. Can this deck win without Jeskai Ascendancy? Because we know the combo deck in Standard cannot, period. So if this deck has the same problem, then maybe it's not that much of an upgrade.
Quick update for you guys here. Jeffrey Tang up a game with Jeskai Aggro over Justin Porches playing Obs on mid-range. Not the first time we've said that in the elimination rounds. Top card here, another Eidolon Blossoms. Windswept Heath did come into play, triggered the Courser, so Yu is up to 8. And it's odd to see that, you know, a deck like this Constellation deck, it does such a nice job of gumming up the ground, yet this is one of the decks here in this Jeskai Royal combo deck, which kind of could overcome that.
Yes. I mean, there's God's Willings in these decks too, so Bradley has to be very conscientious about leaving multiple colors of blockers back on defense.
Which he is not doing in this instance. Going to get into the red zone here with Brain Maggot and pass the turn back. I believe one of the cards in Bradley's hand is a Murderous Cut. I believe. We know he's got a Commune. Didn't get a great look at the draw here for Jen. It looks like it may be a Springleaf Drum. And 3 copies of Retraction Helix. The big question is, how does he use them?
And if Bradley has a second copy of Murderous Cut, I think Ivan's going to be hard-pressed to win this one.
I think it'll be difficult. I don't think it'll be impossible, though. I mean, we saw in their previous match where Bradley identified that, okay, Acron Crusader is the big problem, so he actually used a Murderous Cut on that, which I felt was correct. Don't know if Acron Crusader is the big problem in this game, or if it's Seeker of the Way, or if it's just both.
Yeah. To me, you know, Seeker of the Way says generate an individual blocker, and Bradley can generate enough card advantage where I think he can even be chump blocking along the way. The Acron Crusader, to me, is the most dangerous card of the two.
A very confident attack here by the Seeker of the Way. And as you have mentioned a couple of times, and we can't forget, that Jeskai Charm underneath the Brain Maggot, the fact that he can bounce that to get it back at a moment's notice means that Yu is at a virtual 4 right now.
And I think it means that Ivan should probably prioritize getting the Courser off the table if he can.
I think so too. We'll see how he does organize blockers here. Seeker of the Way, just a little boring old 2/2 with a Dragon's Mantle on it. But it can become a lot larger. We'll see how Jen wants to sequence things.
And it looks like Ivan is setting Eidolon 1, Mystic 2, Courser 3.
Got it. Here's a Retraction Helix, targeting the Acron Crusader. So there will be a Heroic trigger here for a Soldier token. That'll also trigger Prowess. These kind of crazy chain ripple effects that happen when he plays one spell. That's what really makes me like this deck. There's your soldier token. So now Seeker's into a 3/3.
So now, does Retraction Helix resolve?
Yep,
Now
that's the
that we've
question.
settled the triggers.
Looks like we're going to activate Retraction Helix. We're activate the Crusader for the Retraction Helix effect. The question is what to target. It says, Courser, you have to leave. Is Bradley okay with that, as he does thumb between two cards here?
I would hate to be in Bradley's position here.
Playing against this deck is so hard.
I mean, he's had a very good draw. You know, 2 copies of Murderous Cut plus a good curve plus a Brain Maggot. That's one of the better draws his deck can generate here. And it feels like he's kind of winning and stabilizing this game, but one slip up or not playing around the right trick at the right time is going to all get away from him.
Windswept Heath going to get sacrificed here. Going to search up a forest. Net neutral there because of the coursers. We'll see what the top card is in just a moment.
So I think this may be the moment where Bradley's going to try to pull the trigger on this Murderous Cut.
And the question is, do you pull the trigger now? And if you do, what do you pull the trigger on? Top card there. Okay.
Yep.
I know we're wasting now. It'll be turned back down. So Jen wants to make sure he gets his information.
Yeah, Bradley searched in response to the Retraction Helix, which means that card has to get revealed.
Now here's Retraction Helix on the token. Trigger prowess. A little bigger. Now this all works out beautifully for Ivan if Bradley doesn't have a copy of Murderous Cut, but I think he does. Yeah, now he's going reaching for mana. That's the only thing he can have, and it's a bit of a beating. You can see Jen's plan there. Doesn't work out great this time, though. Oh, he does have another.
You can also just Retraction Helix the Secret of the Way back to his hand. Which is not great, but
Yeah.
he can try to keep a board presence in play, and if he can find an ascendancy, maybe go off from there.
I believe this Murderous Cut is in response to the Retraction Helix.
Okay.
Like it hasn't resolved yet. The prowess is resolved, but the actual Retraction Helix on the soldier token hasn't. I think that might be the big issue here.
Well, it looks like the soldier's tapping, so
it could be tapping for the drum,
okay.
potentially. So it depends on a couple of things. Now it looks like it's going to bounce the Dragon's Mantle. Okay, so it did resolve. Murderous Cut's going to resolve on the Seeker of the Way. Again, so many things, so many little interactions here. But that's actually, again, really important. Because out here, Dragon's Mantle is going to come down. Trigger here, get Heroic, get his card back, get
another
a card.
token. Yeah, this may have been a misstep here from Bradley. He might have had to cut here in response to that Retraction Helix because the Mantle coming back here is pretty bad for Bradley, it feels like.
And look, a copy of Secret Away with draw, so we can kind of rebuild the old board position. He has 2 less copies of Retraction Helix, of course. Llanowar wasted the draw. We all know that. This will be a Courser. We'll see the top card here in just a moment. That's a Forest. That's going to be the card drawn because of Eidolon.
Yep.
Courser is an enchantment after all. Whip of Erebos, the top card. Both of these decks do so many little things to keep track of.
And with the board here that Ivan's building up here, Bradley has to get a move on.
Yep.
He can't wait because a Chrono Crusader is going to generate a lot of power. And then again, if Ascendancy's found, it can be lethal.
Commune with the Gods going to turn over Whip of Erebos, another Commune, a Corsair of Crewfix, a Swamp, and a Llanowar Waste. So decisions here. Whip actually not great in the current game.
No, not a lot of stuff in the graveyard, and that Commune didn't flip over anything big.
Top card of Forest. You hasn't played land yet, so might as well. Get that into play, trigger. And this deck is its velocity is very high. There's a Hornet Queen. That'll change some things.
It's a good clock at least.
Yeah.
Blocking, trying to beat this deck by blocking is, I do not think, feasible once it has a Crow Crusader, but it is nice to have a clock going.
Yeah, what's terrifying about this deck is the entire time you're just thinking, well, if we draw Jeskai Ascendancy, I'm probably dead.
Yep.
That is a horrifying feeling.
And this deck looks at a lot of cards, too.
Yeah. Yeah, the first thing I noticed when I look at the deck list was, what was Defiant Strike doing there? That kind of makes sense now.
Yep.
Here's an attack with the Eidolon. 2 damage is going to come across. Jen, very quietly at 22, going down to 20. Gets to draw a card here. See what he's able to find. That's a copy of Jeskai Ascendancy.
Oh, Oodalally.
That's going to come into play. I'm not sure if he's dead just yet. He might be a land short. If anybody knows, it's Ivan. He's got a 3rd copy of Retraction Helix in his hand.
I think he's short on Bana. Yep. I think next turn he can make everything happen.
Hornet Queen's the draw. Take a look at the top card. It's a copy of Satyr Wayfinder.
And keep in mind, when Bradley, you played the Brain Maggot, there were 2 Retraction Helixes in Ivan's hand at the time. 2 of them have been cast. So he may not know the full extent of the danger he's in right now.
Here's 4 mana. This looks like it's going to be a whip. So there is the very powerful enchantment. Play an enchantment, draw a card, Satyr Wayfinder. Going to be drawn Satyr Wayfinder's top card of the deck.
The full power of this deck, you know, it looks like, again, Bradley's had a really solid draw. Mana Acceleration, a Brain Maggot, 2 copies of Murderous Cut, and he still just might be looking at lethal.
He's been going through a million cards. He's got Eidolon of Blossoms going. Here's a Satyr Wayfinder, a 3rd cut, Urborg, and a Doomwake Giant. He does not have the mana to activate the whip right now. Top card is a copy of Temple of Malady. That's going to come into play. And the way you put it is perfect. I don't think he understands the danger that he's in.
Yeah.
He saw 2 Retraction Helixes, and they're both gone now. Braid Mag at the top card.
And to Bradley's credit, you know, he's digging as furiously as he can this turn to try to find Doomwake Giant instead of just casting the Hornet Queen that's in his hand. He's trying to clean up this board, but I don't think he can do it, and now
it's an attack for 2. No,
we're
no
going
blocks.
to a bad place. Yeah, we're good.
It's not an attack for 200, right? then I'm good. There's a copy of Manic Influence. Gonna very quickly tap that Mystic Monastery for a blue mana. This is a copy of Retraction Helix, targeting the Crowan Crusader. And now all the triggers and all the fun.
Trigger 7 things.
Now it's time to trigger the Ascendancy. Draw and discard. There goes the Manic Influence. Doesn't need that anymore. Creatures are going to get +1/+1. They will untap as well. And what's terrifying about all of this is that he can keep right on going. Add a mana, pick up the drum. Do it again. It'll untap all the creatures, and this is basically going infinite.
Yep.
Those creatures are big, big. It's just Jeskai Ascendancy. And he says, I'm going to do this a bunch. Doesn't need a backup Ascendancy.
Keep in mind all these tokens have haste, et cetera, and that's it.
The tokens are all gigantic. The Crowan Crusader has Retraction Helix on, so eventually he can do this enough times where he just bounces the team on the other side of the table, and that is it. Ivan Jen, yet again, up a game here against Bradley Yu. Jeskai Heroic combo, up a game over Green-Black Constellation. It's time to come back to the booth here as it's trivia time before we get to watch this crazy deck in action again. Patrick has the rules. I have the question.
Cedric's going to ask you a question. You will tweet your answer at SCG Live and hashtag SCG Premium. Of the correct responses, one will be selected at random for 3 free months of Star City Games Premium content. It's about accuracy and not speed, so don't worry about submitting your question first, just accurately. And please keep in mind this giveaway is run at the sole discretion of StarCityGames.com, and the Twitch TV is in no way affiliated with giveaways or contests on its stream.
My original trivia question was going to be, is that Jeskai deck beatable? The answer is no. So I think everyone would have got it correct.
I think, again, if people start moving to Magma Sprays and Anger of the Gods and such, maybe, but the metagame right now is not equipped to handle this deck.
No.
Not equipped.
We got a Grand Prix coming up. This is a deck box from the Grand Prix. This question is super lame, by the way. Where's the Grand Prix? Right? Deck box from the Grand Prix. It's a sweet deck box. Got to give them that. Doesn't tell where it is on the deck box. That's good. Where can you get this deck box? Which Grand Prix? Name where the Grand Prix will be. Let's Star City Games is running November 14th through the 16th.
It's a really sweet place.
If you get it wrong, it's kind of embarrassing.
It's
actually.
really bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad if you get this wrong.
It's pretty bad. Hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. We'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinal round. Back to the match we are going to go. Take a look at the sideboards here. Start with Bradley's. He's got 4 copies of Arbor Colossus, 2 Doomweight Giants, a Dark Betrayal. I don't think it's Dark Betrayal. 2 Heroes Downfall, Harika, God of Affliction, 1 Nissa World Waker, and then 4 copies of Thoughtseize. I guess it is a Dark Betrayal, actually. I take it back.
I really like 4 copies of Thoughtseize. I think game 1, the most important card in Bradley's deck might be Brain Magnet because the discard's so good and the information is so good. I would want more of that. I'm not sure if he can go to Heroes Downfall because it's a little rough for his deck to cast reliably early on in the game, but I would still want more spot removal and the 2 copies of Doomweight Giant as well.
Other side, 3 Chasm Skulker, 2 Seeker of the Way, 2 Ajani's Presence, a Disdainful Stroke, 3 Erase, 2 Magma Jet, and 2 Negate. Erase is a great place to start.
Erase is very solid here, although there's only so much sideboarding Ivan can do. He has to remain, his deck needs to remain threat dense, and I could see an argument for wanting negates because the thing he really wants to be fighting over are removal spells. The Disdainful Stroke also is pretty good here. It answers Murderous Cut and Doomweight Giant. And I think we saw him bringing Chasm Skulker here earlier in the tournament when he played this matchup. Yeah. So I don't exactly know how he wants to sideboard. In my opinion, the 2 Jeskai charms are unnecessary and not that well suited for these games anyway, so that's 2 easy cards to cut. Besides that, the deck's all engine and it can't cut that many creatures, so I don't think there's a ton of room for sideboarding.
You see the shirt that Ivan is wearing, Versus Games. We actually met the owner this morning. Looks like a lot of players who came out wanted to watch him play.
Well, Ivan's had a pretty full, rail behind him, rooting him on the entire tournament, all in the Versus Game shirt. It's a store in San Francisco, and a lot of them have turned out for this Open.
Yeah. They're pretty proud of their guy. They call him the Mad Scientist, I believe.
You can see why.
Yeah.
The store owner came by, he talked to us, told us that Ivan has a reputation for brewing, and you can see that reputation in action because this has been incredible to watch.
Gotta love a good brewer, too.
Yeah.
Our backup match is going to game number 3 right now. Seth Stratter and Alex Lien. Don't know if we'll have time to jump over there, but we'll see. Teamer Monsters and Abzan mid-range going to a 3rd one. Again, Jeffrey Tang currently up a game over Justin Porches. Jeskai Agro up a game over a more traditional build of Abzan mid-range. And then our other match, Joshua Valesco and Brendan Freeman, both on a little constellation strategy. We'll find out where they are when we can.
Which means that if Ivan wins this matchup, he gets another consolation matchup for him in the top 4.
Sure does.
And the matchup seems pretty solid.
Yeah. You're putting it mildly.
They are a bit slow out of the gate.
They definitely have cards that matter.
Yes. Yeah. They're not bringing nothing to the table. They have legitimate cards, but it feels like an uphill battle here. You've seen Bradley's draws. He's had solid draws. He mulliganed that game, but he still had a lot of interaction, good acceleration, 2 copies of Murderous Cut. He's only got 4 spot removal spells in his main deck. And it was not enough. And we knew it was not enough the moment Ivan drew Jeskai Ascendancy. We knew it was basically done.
And it's just, I'm trying to think of a card. I feel like, when they draw Jeskai Ascendancy, you and I are just both like, oh boy. Yep. It's like when they draw Scape Shift or
right.
Tooth and Nail. It's just like, oh, that's the one card, and this game is probably over now. It's the absolute nightmare. And this deck actually has a lot of ways to get to it.
Not only that, but even if the Ascendancy isn't lethal the turn that you draw it or you don't have the components to go off, you then get to look at so many cards that eventually you'll find the pieces you're missing.
Yeah. It's
incredible. I don't know how many extra cards Ivan drew that game on his way to getting to Jeskai Ascendancy. But it wasn't like it was in his opening hand. He had to wait a while, draw some cards to get there. But once he did, that was that.
Yeah. Game over, as they say. take a look at game number 2 here as Justin Porches did tie things up against Jeffrey Tang. Abzan mid-range and Just Aggro going to game number 3. Looks like we're underway here in game number 2. A forest from you. For once, not an Elvish Mystic. He's had that quite a bit. It's definitely important in the matchup, though.
First time he missed, although there's a lot of man acceleration in the deck. So.
Yeah, for sure. Temple of Triumph, a little scry action here from Jen. There's some man acceleration in Sylvan Caryatid. Back to Jen we will go. Mana Confluence going to come down. What's turn number 2 bring?
And I can see that gold card in the middle of Ivan's hand. It's there.
It's a Seeker of the Way.
And Bradley, you know, no Reclamation Sages, no Disenchants. This is... If it resolves, he just has to work through it.
There's a Commune. Take a look at the top 5. It's a Swamp, a Windswept Heath, a Llanowar Waste, an Elvish Mystic, and make it 2 of those.
Well, this seems fairly straightforward to resolve.
A creature or enchantment. Bradley taking a moment.
Yeah, okay.
It's fun. It's interesting because when you have similar effects, he may have been thinking for a moment that was Satyr Wayfinder.
Oh,
He
sure.
takes a look- yeah.
Okay, yep.
Because it's back in like the Grizzly Salvage mulch thing.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's totally fair. It's just, hey, Bradley, man, not really sure what you're thinking about right now, but just take an Elvish Mystic and let's go on with life.
Murderous Cut going to take care of Seeker of the Way. And see, this is interesting because, you know, he takes care of the Seeker, but and this is one of the other aspects I like about this deck is, you know, Seeker played a pretty big role in the last game. So am I supposed to kill that or am I supposed to continue to wait for the Akron Crusader? I'm starting to become of the camp that you're supposed to wait for the Crusader, but again, I could be wrong about that. Here's a favorite Hoplite. It's going to be hit by a Dragon's Mantle, trigger Heroic.
Now, Bradley can just start going beatdowns while he waits for Mana Source number 3 to get the Ascendancy in play.
Yep.
We saw Seeker of the Way did, you know, quite a bit of damage last game.
Yeah.
It ended up not really mattering that much because when Ivan won, it was by so much that the little points of damage didn't matter, but at least forced Bradley to play defense and time his removal spells at certain moments. And we did have a game where Ivan just won with the beatdowns. So Bradley knows it's a possibility.
Sylvan Caryatid number 2, pass the turn back. Both players with minor mana troubles. Copy of Akron Crusader of the draw. The way he's played with that card this weekend has been very interesting. Just when's the best time to cast it?
It's the whole engine. It's
It
been
really
really
is.
impressive.
Just an attack here for 2. He will deploy the Crusader now and pass the turn back. What's interesting about this is if you're you have to be thinking to yourself, okay, I know the deck list. He's got 4 copies of God's Will in his deck. Also has access to a Johnny's Presence, so what are the chances I can kill that thing? Probably pretty low.
It's really tough for him to make a move, but it's also really bad for him to allow Ivan to develop his board uncontested. It's what is known as the squeeze.
Yes. You taking a look at his hand. Looks like he does have a copy of Doomwake Giant. Could fire that off right now. And he will. Quickly tapping a mana. Let's see what this is. Yep. There's a copy of a Johnny's Presence, I believe.
So this is going to allow the Crusader to survive the Doomway Giant trigger.
Yep. 2 of these in the sideboard. Time to draw a card. Is this maybe a copy of Erase? Yes, sir. Got to get Doomwake out of here.
That is the most dangerous card in Bradley's whole deck in this matchup.
Keep in mind, that being exiled, a very big deal.
Yes, as you see Bradley with a Whip of Erebos in hand. Though that's surprising to me because Whip, I commented on this when they played yesterday, Whip seems like a poor card in the matchup, especially when Ivan's sideboard card in question is Erase.
I do agree that Whip is slow, but we also saw in the 3rd game of their initial match where he was able to get a board position where he had a Doomwake Giant and was able to whip back another Doomwake Giant.
Oh, yeah. When the game went on for a really long time, Whip was fine, but to me, it feels like the battle was for immediacy on Bradley's side.
Looks like we're taking the beatdown approach now. See a Defiant Strike on the Akron Crusader, which of course brings the Soldier along with it, a little more power. Let's see what maybe the follow-up is here. It's a very innocent Springleaf Drum. Just pass the turn back over to you. Gonna draw a card. Don't know if he has another copy of Doomwake Giant in the grip here. It would be pretty nice for him if he did.
And if he doesn't, and has a way to realistically dig for one, I think he needs to do that, even if it means giving up on a pretty solid play this turn. At this point, Bradley may not know every iteration of every combination in Ivan's deck, but he knows that this board spells trouble.
There are 5 minutes remaining to sign up for today's Legacy Open. If you'd like to sign up, please come up to the stage now.
Well, he's going to go reaching now.
5 minutes remaining to sign up.
Looks like he's come to a decision.
Legacy Open.
Maybe not. It's funny because he's underneath pressure in a really weird way here.
Well, there's the pressure of what's on the board, which right now he can't answer. And then there's the solid guess at this point, because Ivan's been stuck on 2 lands for a while, that Ascendancy is in hand. He needs to be able to fight over that too.
Here's a backup Nykthos. That may be what made this turn a little bit difficult. There's a whip. This is an Elvish Mystic. Pass the turn back. He does have a copy of Murderous Cut in hand.
Does he have 4 cards in the
I
graveyard?
believe he does. I think the 4th card may actually be the Nykthos that he had to put in the bin. And you see, we're going to find a count right now.
Yep.
There are your 4. And Jen, very smart, concerned with Murderous Cut. But he's got a Jeskai Ascendancy in hand, so life is pretty good for him. The question is, does he want to deploy it now or wait until a little later?
Well, Bradley can't kill it,
Yep.
so it seems, and he can make him discard it with Thoughtseizes or Brain Maggots. So it seems like what you would want to do first order of business is get this into play.
He will have to take 1 to do so from the Battlefield Forge. But the Ascendancy is here. We're going to have a bit of a response. Probably worth responding to. Murderous Cut going to go after a Crone Crusader. Might start to be a common play. It's standard.
You better kill that thing.
Might be a common response, too.
You better kill that thing.
It's a God's Willing, naming black. Going to trigger Heroic, of course. We'll see some scry action here in just a moment. So Murderous Cut is countered. Jen going to take a look. Again, this is all in response to Jeskai Ascendancy, so now that's in. And an attack is relatively safe here, so can't forget these soldier tokens. They do have haste. I think the question is, does Jen want to attack with a new one? He does. There's a block. Time to trade with a soldier token for the Elvish Mystic.
A block here seems a little strange to me unless Bradley has some sort of big follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he just wants something else in his graveyard. There's a temple. Take a look at the top.
It just seems like, again, if Bradley dies, it's going to be by 50 points. It's
Yep.
not going to be by a little bit. So I'd rather keep the mana in play.
Once the Ascendancy shows up.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's a different story if Ivan's fighting fair. But once the Ascendancy is in play, you need to leave yourself as much mana as possible, because Ivan's going to kill you by quite a bit in the scenario where he's able to make something happen with the Ascendancy.
Bradley with 1 card in hand. It's just a forest. He's got to try to represent some strength here as he does pass the turn back. But if you're Ivan, you have access to your opponent's deck list. There's really only 1 card you have to play around. It's Murderous Cut.
You know, there's some sideboarded heroes downfalls as well, but
Sure.
it's the same thing.
Yeah. I have to play around a removal spell.
And this might be the spot where Ivan wins without going infinite. He's just going to generate enough power where it's lethal.
Here's a Defiant Strike. Get ready for some triggers, folks. That'll trigger Heroic, so that's going to come in. And now Ascendancy is going to trigger. So first things first, it's time to draw a discard. Dragon's Mantle is what he's found. That lets him have a whole bunch of fun. Going to discard a copy of Erase. Don't need another one of these. And now the creatures are going to grow a little bit larger.
And if Ivan's discarding a race, I think that means he's going for a kill this turn.
And now he will draw a card from the actual card draw, Defiant Strike. It's time to use the drum. Maybe. He's going to use a mana instead. You see, he leaves the Defiant Strike there on the Crone Crusader, just to make sure that he knows That's a little bit bigger. Here's a Dragon's Mantle. That'll trigger Heroic. It'll also trigger Ascendancy. You see it places the stacks on the trigger appropriately. First things first. Resolve Heroic. That's going to come into play. Now it's time to resolve Ascendancy to make sure that Soldier token does get the bonus. Draw and discard a copy of Manic Influence. A little bit bigger. Everybody's ticking up. Bradley, a nice guy. I think he's enjoying seeing this all happen, but he also knows that I think it's over.
Yeah, he's generating so much power right now.
There's a God's Willing, some other things, and Bradley Yu is going to concede the game. Ivan Jen has done it again. He wins this match over Green-Black Constellation, 2-0. He is moving on to the semifinals, and we are moving on with him.
We've seen the full display so far from Ivan in this matchup. We've seen him go infinite with Retraction Helix plus Springly Drum. We've seen games like this where he doesn't go infinite, but just generates so much power through Jeskai Ascendancy that it's a kill. And we've seen him win without Jeskai Ascendancy at all, just with a heroic creature draw. So we're seeing every element of this deck on display so far.